Welcome to the Blueprint Briefing. I am your host, Marcus Xavier. Today, we are witnessing a seismic shift in the bedrock of American politics, a moment that highlights the deepening ideological fractures within the contemporary right wing. This isn't just a minor disagreement. It is a significant moment in contemporary political history. We are analyzing a high-profile exchange that has sent shockwaves through the media landscape. The ideological collision between media personality Alex Jones and political commentator Nick Fuentes. This story serves as a critical case study in how political narratives are constructed, how they are maintained by influential figures, and ultimately, how they can collapse under the weight of historical reality. In this briefing, we will explore the factual timeline, the linguistic and cultural roots of these arguments, and the profound ways these shifts impact your daily life. To truly understand the gravity of the current situation, we must look back at the historical roots of what many call the MAGA movement. In 2016, Donald Trump's campaign was built on a distinct and powerful platform of non-interventionism. He famously described the war in Iraq as a big mistake and was a vocal critic of previous administrations for their involvement in conflicts without clear objectives. This rhetoric was not just campaign fluff. It resonated deeply with a specific demographic of voters who felt betrayed by the forever wars of the early 21st century. The argument was clear. America first meant bringing resources and focus back home. It was a promise of a new direction in contemporary history. However, as we look at the factual historical records, the reality of the Trump administration often diverged significantly from this non-interventionist stance. Between 2018 and 2020, the administration took several escalatory steps that challenged the original 2016 narrative. Key historical markers include the 2018 withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal and the 2020 strike on Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. Critics and historians alike point out that the Pentagon and the broader military-industrial complex have historically pushed for these long-term military engagements. These conflicts are often argued to be significant moneymakers for specific interests rather than purely defensive measures. This sets the stage for the current tension, a clash between the anti-war promise and pro-intervention reality. The recent catalyst for the explosion of tension between Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes was a report indicating a major shift in rhetoric. Information indicates that Donald Trump has moved toward what is being termed a forever war stance regarding regime change in Iran. For Alex Jones, this represents a profound ideological crisis. Jones has historically positioned himself as a staunch defender of the Trump regime, but sources indicate his own audience has begun to revolt. They view his continued support for these new military escalations as being soft on the very issues he once championed. Let's look at the linguistic roots of this conflict. The term red-pilled, a concept from online subcultures describing a sudden awakening to a hidden truth, is central here. Ironically, many who felt red-pilled by the anti-interventionist promises of 2016 are now experiencing a second revelation. They perceive a betrayal of the original promise, and this linguistic evolution marks a turning point in how the base views its leadership. In a move that has stunned many, Nick Fuentes has begun advocating for a vote Democrat strategy. This isn't out of an affinity for liberal ideology, but rather a pragmatic, professional analysis of modern political power. Fuentes' argument is rooted in the idea of leverage. He argues that if the Republican Party feels entitled to the vote's base regardless of its actions, it has no incentive to change its trajectory. He suggests the GOP must suffer a little pain and potentially lose elections to be reborn. The cultural and historical irony here is thick. Fuentes points to the Biden administration's actions, specifically ending the war in Afghanistan and reducing drone warfare as evidence that, in some foreign policy realms, the Democratic platform has been objectively more aligned with non-interventionist goals than the current Republican trajectory. The movement that rose to power on anti-war sentiment is now being urged by its own ideologues to support the opposition to stop a new forever war. Why does this matter to you, the viewer? Why is this briefing essential? Because these high-level political shifts dictate our daily lives. Foreign policy decisions regarding forever wars dictate the allocation of trillions of dollars in taxpayer funds. That is money that could otherwise be used for domestic infrastructure, healthcare, or education. When the military-industrial complex takes a mile for every inch given, the economic burden falls squarely on the average citizen. Furthermore, the stability of our political discourse is at stake. When major media figures like Alex Jones admit to promoting optimism over realism, essentially admitting to a lack of transparency, it erodes public trust in information. Jones recently expressed that he fucking needs the optimism to believe the country can be fixed, even as he acknowledges the utter and complete betrayal of the policies he once championed. This creates a vacuum of truth that affects how we all consume news and make decisions. As we conclude this blueprint briefing, we see a landscape where historical precedent is clashing violently with modern political maneuvering. The experimental nature of the last decade of American politics has led to a point where even the most loyal supporters are questioning the foundation of their allegiances. The argument for playing both sides represents a desperate search for leverage in a system that many feel has become unresponsive to the will of the voters. What is factual is that the forever war rhetoric has become a breaking point for contemporary conservative media. Whether this leads to a genuine realignment or further fragmentation remains to be seen. I am Marcus Xavier. This has been the Blueprint Briefing. Stay informed, stay objective, and always look for the blueprint behind the headlines. If you found this analysis educational and essential for navigating today's political climate, please like and subscribe to the Blueprint Briefing. Join us for more deep dives into the history and politics shaping our world today. We'll see you in the next briefing.